Are you leading us in with the question, or are we just asking it out loud?
I don't know. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Oh, fair. Okay. What's the question?
So the question today is, I would like to know what you guys think are the pros and cons of starting your own business from scratch versus purchasing a business that's for sale.
Well, of the two of us, you're the only one who's actually bought a business. How did that go for you?
It was going okay, I guess, for the first 3 years of purchasing that business until I took it to the next level and bought a building.
Right.
And ended up dumping a lot more money into it. So,
but you were at the natural stage of ready to move into a nicer space, and
that's true. True.
You'd gone as far as you can with that one location,
and that is true. So the buying of the business part of it, I mean, to the degree that it was turnkey, you know, we had to tighten up on the cost and the scheduling and so on, you know, and solve the problem of employees kind of taking extra hours that they weren't supposed to take, you know, and so the payroll was a little bit out of control.
Well, every time I've ever helped a client buy a business, we always go through the same deal. When you bought it, you assumed it was making $6,000-7,000 a month, right?
That's what I was
you bought
told.
it based on that. The very first days we got in there, and I actually looked at the financials, I was like, it's not even close.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, once again, another episode of Stupid John Tricks. I bought it based on a financial statement that was written on a notepad,
right?
That had handwritten figures on it. You know, like
Right.
we had nothing to go on. So it was. So my recommendation would be never buy a business that way if you're going to buy one.
Definitely need to do a lot of due diligence when buying a business. Make sure you're checking financial records, tax returns, making sure they all match, and making sure that the cash flow and the profit are what you expect them to be. But, you know, I always see these people fall into a little bit of a trap. You fortunately had a team around you, so it wasn't that big a deal here. But a lot of people, when they buy a business, they really just buy themselves a job.
Yeah.
They spend $100,000 or $200,000 buying what they think is a turnkey business that they can just have in as investment, and they end up 40, 60 hours a week in the business trying to make it work.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the things, you know, I just got in this conversation the other day. One of the guys that I bought the business from, he made an offhand comment in the week that we were talking about buying the business while we were sitting there in front of the employees. And he said something along the lines of, and everybody here comes with it, or, you know, or the staff comes with it or something, you know. And one of the staff members took, like, apparently great offense to that.
Right.
You know, and she ended up leaving like 3 days after I bought the business.
Yeah.
After she had spent 2 days, you know, showing me everything, doing a great job, you know, kind of keying me in on everything and showing me all the stuff she did. And she asked for a raise, and I said, well, can I have a week to kind of figure out where the financials are? And that didn't sit well with her. And so she just came back inside and threw the keys on the counter and left.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then accused me of being sexist, you know? So I was like, you know, you can get blindsided with stuff like that if you have a sudden staff turnover in a business you just bought.
Right.
So there's a lot of little things that you have to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, on the flip side, I'm a proponent of starting a business. I think it's, if you are a successful person with a lot of capital and you see a business that you're looking to put a little money in and you have a great team behind you that can help you manage it, buying a business is great. But I think for your first foray into something, buying into a franchise, buying an existing turnkey business, unless you have a lot of experience in that industry.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
You should not be looking at doing something like that. Now, if you are the manager of a location and you've been the manager for 10 years and then the owner is getting ready to retire and he offers you the business and this is your first time, that's a different conversation.
Right.
Or if you are an expert in the retail stores and one across town happens to come up for sale and you're like, well, that might be good for me. Again, that's a different conversation. But really, I think you learn a lot more and you're a little bit safer and a little bit more kind of knowledgeable where your money's going if you start a business from scratch. It's harder, but I think it's better.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those things where there are so many variables to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real easy answer because the biggest thing to consider is what is the actual opportunity.
Right.
You know, and how good is it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that requires due diligence, like a good amount of due diligence that needs to and reason that needs to come in, because in my life, I have often reacted emotionally to these things.
Yeah.
And emotion so very easily overwhelms reason.
Yeah. And when we say due diligence is the act of digging into the actual business. It's looking into the financials, looking into the tax returns, making sure that everything you've been told, or all of the kind of pitch and fluff and marketing that you've been given is true. That's what due diligence is.
Right. And the thing is that, I mean, there's a saying, it's called, polishing a turd.
Right.
And everybody thinks that their business is worth more than it is, except for the people who really know that it's not worth much and they're just looking for a sucker.
All right. Quick answer here. If you had 200 grand in your pocket, just burning a hole in your pocket, would you rather, and you didn't have anything else going on, would you rather go buy an existing business or start something from scratch?
I would rather buy an existing turnkey business that had good, solid foundationals and fundamentals.
I think I'm the opposite. I would much rather bet on myself and build something from scratch. So I think it's just kind of personal preference and risk tolerance, what you're into.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm buying vending machines.
That's not a bad idea. Vending machines are good.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check us out. You can find other short content like this all over our page. Check us out on all of our socials at Turtlesmith OK. And don't forget, our podcast drops every Wednesday. You get John and Scott over a varying amount of topics. We've got Sense of Direction that drops every Friday. We've got Dylan and Kevin handing you some life skills and financial literacy. And check out our live every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Central.